Welcome back to another episode of the Movie Dungeon. I am your host, Dwayne the Flyers Nerd You Know, and today we're talking about House of Dragon Episode 5. So let's get right on into it. Where to start? Well, this episode was slow as fuck and boring. I'm not even gonna lie to you. A lot of talking. Granted, I know we need those episodes to carry along, the pieces and stuff like that, but honestly, this was really boring, and I caught myself dozing off too much, but I watched it and it had some good moments, and it definitely did highlight some characters in it. So needless to say, let's get into it. We got a small moment with our boy Tommy Flanagan's Roy the Ruin. Now, I want to say that Roy the Ruin is probably one of the most badass characters from the book that we are not getting the justice of in this series. It's pretty bad, and I'm kind of scared that we might only see him to the battle, and that's it. Showing his brutality off, and that kind of sucks. And I feel like this show needs to be a little more better on giving us that, because we deserve it. He's too badass, and people who don't really know the book and only know the show, well, don't even really know how good this guy is and how badass he is, and they should, because with what, you got greatness right there written on the wall. Use it. But moving on from that, though, this episode really does show off Christian Cole's dark side and the brutality this dude does. He scooped to a low. I didn't think he was gonna go after he, done all the stuff he's done in the last couple other episodes, or allowed his soldiers to do to other people. I thought that was his lowest. Boy, was I wrong. Just the way he looks when he puts down a horse in this, it's just, he's vicious. He even, his army that he's rolling with is pretty small, but he's doing a lot of damage to the, to the Tullys and stuff like that, and to the Winter Wolves, to the point they were like, all right, we got to start using some of their tactics against them, because, Christian Cole's beating our ass right now, so let's go ahead and steal some of that shit, use it against them. But yeah, moving on from that, though, I was a little worried when Aemon went to Harrenhal, because I wasn't on this channel last year, and I did not like any episodes that Daemon was at Harrenhal. Oh my gosh, those tripping out fucking shit was pissing me off. I did like, the full vision of, when Game of Thrones, timeline and all that stuff. Love that part. But like I said, yeah, because it has Easter eggs in it, so you kind of have to watch it, but you gotta sit through it. And I'm glad they sped this one up with Aemon. I really do. This one was way better, sped up, got straight to the point. You can see him freak out a little bit, have some weird little dreams, and now he's fighting like he's almost back to normal. So hopefully next episode he's a little more, himself, and then he can get the fuck on and, do. I know he has to do a little more stuff there, book-wise, but hopefully from that on he can be himself, because Lord mercy, Harrenhal drives me insane, right? So moving on, though, we have Allison trying to give Helena the baby delete tea, and Helena wasn't going for it. And that's my girl. She stood up to her mama, because Allison could be a little more persuasive towards Helena, and Helena is more of a yes mommy towards her, but not this time. Helena is not actively choosing to off another one of her kids. That's pretty much what she would be doing, and she's not making that choice or that decision. So I root all for her for that. And but it does worry me, though, book wise, and the fact that we don't have Maelor already in the show is what's going to happen to these two, to be honest. So it scares me with that. But they found a little secret passage, so we see how that goes, and yada yada yada. So it wasn't too much, but it was interesting. Moving on, Rhaenyra's still fucking up back home. At least she got the cats doing their jobs, right? But she since her being broke and shit, that her gold cloaks is not happy, right? These knights that went in the town home and fucked up all these people and made the town home mad at Rhaenyra are now, the gold cloaks are now mad at Rhaenyra too. They need their bread. We did all this shit, where's our bread? Damon had to step up and give a little speech to calm everybody down and get them back, on the side and all that stuff. And by the time of end of it, it don't even matter. Somebody that got a hold of them to gold cloaks. You know what I mean? And Damon really was pissed off and shit, you know. But yeah, moving on from that, Aegon got chewed out by his little foot fetish friend. It was good. It was a good little argument. You know, Aemon got put in his place. He was like, "What the fuck did you say?" It was great. You know, I'm glad that somebody who was below him, that, you know, he only looked at almost as a crutch, to be honest, and somebody who was, you know, obviously went through life deformed, like now Aegon is, could put him in his place and let him know, like, bro, you're still Aegon, so what the fuck you bitching about? You've been bitching your whole life. You know, when you gonna finally be a king, be somebody? And I think he's gonna be menacing because of that. But needless to say, where is that? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Stop bitching, stop wallowing in your own self-pity. You know? So he had enough of his shit, and he told him about himself. So good job, foot fetish dude. But moving on from that, nothing really much happened with Ormond and Daron. You know, he was still pretty much getting in Daron's head, or why he, you know, you need to be king, and pretty much that. And come the episode, Damon has some dude locked up and find a little gold coin. I think it has Jaehaerys's face on it or something like that. And Damon's like, yo, the dude said, you know, Daron is declaring himself as king. And once Rhaenyra finds out, she's like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on now? Her problems just escalated. She thought she was done dealing with somebody who had a claim to the throne, and now to another person that says they had a claim to the throne. And technically, Daron does have a claim to the throne more than anybody right now, because, you know, Rhaenyra did get passed up, and Aegon did sit on the throne, so therefore, and Aemon dipped, so therefore it is Daron. I mean, so anyway, we'll see how that goes. I wasn't really too fond of this episode. I'll really give this episode like a 7 out of 5. So just a little too slow. I said that enough, but listen, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get more of these episodes down the line. But that's all we got today. This is the Movie Dungeon. I'm your host, Dwayne the Flies Nerd, you know, and peace.